my window pane. Dreams of stars, now a faint refrain. Coffee brews and thoughts collide in this early morning ride. Wake up world, let's start the day. Insight flows in a bright array. Questions dance like morning dew. In this space, it's me and you. Coffee chats with Melissa. Every cup was a whisper. Conversations open doors. Spilling thoughts forevermore. Ideas bubble crisp and bright. Words take flight in morning light. Consult the heart, make it sing. New perspectives on each wing. Every thought becomes so clear. From stations and bubbling streams, waking up to brand new dreams. Coffee chats with Melissa. Every cup was a whisper.
Hello and good morning, guys. How are you? Listen, it's July. It's the end of July. It's the last Saturday of July. And we're doing Coffee Chats with Melissa Ann Houston. We are live on YouTube and LinkedIn today. Facebook had a glitch and we just dropped it off. So if you're over somewhere you want to watch it, share it, please, because others may not find it where they're normally watching it. Anyway, I'm excited about this. I don't know if you guys have been watching the build out for the show. I did a post. It kind of showed where this was born from. You know, I don't want to get too far into the show without an introduction, but life brings reminders. It brings reminders a lot. And this last week was no exception. When I was thinking about the premise of the show, I was thinking before and after. The improvements, the small things that we swap out over time to keep systems running functionally, to optimize the way they work, to ensure that we're protecting everything we've built or purchased or invested in, right? And so when I started to get into the nitty-gritty of the thoughts of that, man, I went down a rabbit hole. Then I thought, well, let me share it with my friends because I can't be the only one who's thinking about this. I definitely think about it probably more often than others because I am an operations person. My job at my career, my roles with organizations have been to implement and optimize processes, to improve them, to teach others, to figure out what's working, what's not, to read data, assess, adjust, and do it again, right? And so the truth is that is who I am as a human. I document, I act, I track, and I adjust. I have been working on the document, then act premise for a long time, guys. I believe that you will write your story either way. You're either going to be successful at what you do or you're going to learn from it. And if you can't do both, then we're in trouble at some point, right? We should be able to receive our gold stars. We should be able to celebrate those wins, but we should also adjust and be able to accept when we don't do so. And I'll be honest, I could have $1 million recipe in my bowl. I could have my plate perfected. And the question still remains to the family, what could we do to improve the recipe? And if you guys aren't bringing that mindset to the table, I would encourage you to do that today because it's going to be a lot to dive into. But just in case we're just meeting each other, my name is Melissa Houston. I'm the cultivator of dreams, motivator of human capital. And what that means is I help people like you figure out what they want to be when they grow up and get a plan together. Sometimes you're already the CEO of your company trying to optimize your life so you can live that life you were trying to live when you went into business for yourself. Maybe you dreamed of having this life of fluidity where you could just flow and go wherever you wanted to. And somehow, by being in charge of your own life and being in charge of your own calendar, you have less time. Because I'll be honest, guys, that happened to me. I was a solopreneur for 8 years. I'm just over actually for 8 years. I was on the grind to make sure that my bills were paid, that I was making ends meet, that every client was remaining a client, and I was growing that. It was a hustle. It was more of a hustle than I've ever hustled in my whole hustling career. It was great. But there were things that I let fall out of alignment. There were things that I wasn't building into. There were things in my mindset that would shift because career demanded first. And so I coach on those things. I also help with operations. I come in, I assess what's going on in your business and figure out how we can improve it. And that's really what the premise of the show is today. Guys, when we went, and it was my husband and I, we were doing our routine maintenance on vehicles. I like to do them at the same time to keep our timing unison, right? It's easier to remember when we need to do things if we do them at the same time. And so I got to tell you, this time around, it was a new to him vehicle. He had purchased a truck from somebody who had loved it for what it was doing. And it was a daily commuter. It was running up and down Seattle and back almost to the northern part of the state. And so it was putting in a lot of work. It's a great running truck. It does everything it's supposed to do. It's got power. It's got grr to it, right? You know that engine's ready to go. However, when they pulled out the air filter, we noticed there was a difference between the new and the old. And what I wanted to do was just really dive into this concept, right? Because there were no warning lights. There was nothing saying, hey, I'm not optimized. I'm not running to my full capabilities. There's something bogging down my flow. If you can't get air into the system, if you can't breathe life into the thing you're running, eventually it will fail. And so I just wanted to bring that to task today, right? Is your business still running, but maybe not running well? Your life, your processes. I don't care how you apply this today. It's not for me to decide how you use this, but I really hope you have a pen and paper ready. I really hope you go follow me on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm on YouTube. Go find them, right? YouTube is one of my favorites to send you to because if something glitches on one of the other platforms, you can usually find it live, still streaming, doing its thing on YouTube. You can learn more about me if we don't know each other. If you feel like you still don't know who I am, go to documentthenap.com, learn more, check out my LinkedIn profile. But get your pen and paper ready, guys, because I want to know, what do you have in your life that's still running? Like it's pushing, it's doing the thing, but maybe not to the best of its ability. This summer, I am certain some of you are testing your capabilities with your air conditioning units. I'm an Arizona girl. I grew up in the desert. You want to talk about the need of replacing filters for breathability? That is one of the primary spots. Um, I am almost certain that it was a monthly filter replacement when we lived in Arizona. I think there was an apartment complex that I lived in that actually did monthly visits to your home to make sure all the things weren't dripping, leaking. Nothing was broken. They could replace bulbs. They could do whatever it was. It was a great full service concierge style maintenance approach. From a business investment, it's really wise to be able to come into the building once a month and make sure it's being maintained, right? You can tell who's taking care of your properties and who are not. But the other side of it is, how much does that filter, that air conditioning filter, cost you to protect it? That AC unit, that multiple thousands of dollar unit, and even bigger if we're talking about a complex, right? Tens of thousands. How much is it really going to cost you to prevent the problems versus tackle them as they come in? I know car maintenance is something most of us deal with, but what about your life? What about those practices you have, the things in your schedule, the people in your life causing bottlenecks? I want to say good morning to Nicole. She's first comment. Good morning there. That is my publisher, guys. I'm so excited. I just put in another order for another set of the books I was able to write in and partake in. So excited to see that come. I want to share locally here in the community. So anyway, just hi, good morning, Nicole. And so bottlenecks, what are they? What's right in front of you? Maybe you're not seeing. Most often in my career or my life, the bottlenecks I see were in traffic or in the communication. I was sales. I am sales. I do a lot of it now. And most often the bottleneck in sales comes down to the contract, the email, that returned phone call, the meeting we need to set that creates another meeting, right? And if you have one small thing, one facet that slows you down more than others, it can really have an impact over time, right? Because it may only be a minute or two here and a minute or two there, but if you have those same problems for a decade, you're losing days worth of productivity, right? And so you've got to think through, what could we optimize? Yes, it's running, but what could we do better? And how often do you ask yourself that question? Maybe it's your grocery shopping list. Maybe you know every time you go to the grocery store, you spend just a little more than you meant to. Maybe you're spending too much time in the store because you're not optimized when you go. You're like, I got to go run to the store. I know I need some milk. I'll just see what else is there when I get there. And then you're haphazardly throwing things in your cart and you're walking down every aisle and you're taking your time because you don't want to miss a box. You don't want to miss a logo. You need to have it tell you what to buy because you're not prepared to tell the store what you need. You're not prepared to fill your cart with intention. And so it slows you down. Not only does it slow you down, but it costs you more than it should, because if you've ever shopped hungry, if you've ever shopped without a budget, if you've ever shopped without intention, you know things fall into your cart accidentally, intentionally, haphazardly. Same is true with business. If you're not prepared, then you pay an expedited shipping fee, an overnight fee. You had to get that contract just in time, and you didn't make it to send it traditionally, so now you got to courier it over. These are small things that add up. Which human is in charge of putting out that fire? How often are they in charge of the fire? Is it just your fires they're putting out? Is it other people's fires as well? How many fires of their own are created because of your haphazard approach to timeliness, time management? I hate to ask, but if you are the leader of your business, how often are you the bottleneck for your team? Does everything need a stamp from the big boss to be able to move forward? Or do they have some wiggle room? As an example, having a small budget for a retail store. I work for a huge retail chain nationwide. And there is a store budget daily that I can spend without permission, like without any extra consent. I can just go spend it as needed. Do I need to fix something in my store? Do I want to buy lunch for the team? Do I want to insert here? I can. I don't need to slow down to ask. Now, if it gets to be a bigger amount, something beyond that, then I would need to slow down to ask. But there is value in that question, then value in the slowdown. If you have 170 plus stores like this chain does, imagine if everybody just spent $100 a day more than their budget without permission, without identifying what they're spending it on. How long would it take before it became a problem, a bottleneck for the budget? Right? Good morning, Lauren. I'm not trying to call you out, ma'am. Listen, me too. I've been the bottleneck. I have been the one in control who's like, it all has to come through me. No. I get final say so. And in some ways, guys, the bottleneck is nice. In background screening, you want to slow it down to one person. You want to filter to a tiny amount so you don't get too much through at once. But that is for protection also. And so some bottlenecks are necessary, but others aren't, right? And we got to eliminate the ones that aren't. Nick says, truth about replacing the parts before the whole machine breaks down. Same with ourselves, maintenance and self-care. It's so true. When you get a little dizzy because you stood up too fast, when you feel your heart pumping really hard and nobody around you who has exerted the same amount of energy feels or seems to feel as exhausted. If you're swelling, if you have blood flow restrictions, your heart, right, it will give signs, symptoms. All of these things can happen. Is your brain foggy? Are you not able to get clear? Is the bottleneck in your brain because you're trying to remember too much and not writing it down? Or are you one of those CEOs that has more meetings than moving? If you want to schedule a meeting to tell me we need to schedule another meeting, I'm going to call you out. Why can't we do it now? What was the purpose of us all sitting at this table if we're not meeting now? And why do we need to have a meeting to schedule a meeting? Couldn't this have been an email? Good morning, Bill. I see you. Oh my gosh, how? It's so early. It's not that early, Bill. Go to bed earlier. Go to bed earlier. Wake up earlier. You'll be awake by the time the show starts. But really, how many meetings have you had in your lifetime that you feel could have been an email, a text, a quick phone call, a quick Slack message to a whole group? What is the intention of the meeting and how will it move the marker? Because otherwise, if you're just pulling everybody away from what they were doing, if you're taking them out of their focus time, if you're asking them to be focused on you and you don't have focus, what standard are you setting? I don't want to meet for donuts. Keep your freaking donuts, send an email. No offense. If we need to meet, let's email, get clear on the details, come together to get the action. Any of this making sense? Any of this resonating? How do you guys move forward out of meeting zone? How do you deflect a meeting when asked if you don't want to have one? Have you ever said no to a suggested meeting with a secondary option? Hey, I know you wanted to meet on this, but maybe can we do it virtually? Maybe can we just have a phone call? Maybe can we turn this hour-long meeting into a 15-minute meeting and get very concise and skip the chatter? Are you optimizing your team with your team, or are you just sitting in the comfort zone? Guys, you may have been in your role for a decade. Your team may have been there since the beginning. Oh, they've been with me. Sally's my number one gal. She gets everything done. She's grown with us. She's the one I rely on to do what I need when I want it. She can read my mind. If Sally can read your mind, and you're not making Sally as chaotic in her head as Miranda Priestley did in the first movie, right? I haven't seen the second one. I can't talk about it yet. I would ask you why. Why is your team able to guess what's coming next? Is it because you're so consistent? It's military grade quality, accountability, and action. You know, drill is at 400 hours, and this is when we're going, and whatever. Maybe, and maybe that works. But when you go into the battlefield, if I know what your schedule looks like, and I know what your training looks like, and I know there's no surprises on deck, then you're in trouble. If your team can calculate your moves, so can your competition. Did you hear what I said? Write that down. Clip that. If your team can calculate your next move, so can your competition. And it doesn't mean that you're going to go out of business tomorrow. Not at all. You might still have a lobby full of people, a email box full of requests. You might have so much demand you can't help yourself. Or you may not. You may have started hot and fresh and rolling, and you couldn't keep the phones from ringing, so you hired assistants. And then eventually the assistant's phone wasn't ringing as much. It's because you got comfortable. People like fun, fresh, new, exciting. It's why Pepsi Cola and Coca-Cola, two pillar brands who could stand on their own, have multiple facets of business. When you look at their parent companies, they have diversified. They didn't stand on one thing. They didn't even stay with sodas. They've done sports drinks and beverages and the things you snack on while you partake in the beverages. They have evolved. They come up with new, fresh flavors because they don't want to be left behind. They don't want to get comfortable because their competition refuses to. And the truth is, that is the best kind of competition, where both of you are leveling each other up at all times. Don't get comfy. Don't get cozy. Have an accountability partner, even if you're not coaching, even if you're not going to hire a consultant. Get a friend in business who's like, all right, buddy, we're meeting once a month. What are you doing that's new and fresh? What is different this time? Having the same team for a decade is a fantastic way to play. You do understand each other. You know their vacation schedule. You know when they need to have time off for the kids. You know how they travel during the holidays. You can plan your life around that because you are so comfortable with how they move. And that's great when you're planning a schedule. But that does nothing for your business growth. Maybe the consistency and happiness in the team, right? We want to cultivate that happiness for sure. In our human capital, that's part of the title here. We want to make sure we are giving them their best and they can give us their best. But do you feel like you give your best when you do the same thing over and over and over, never changing the color, the tone, the font, the anything? Have you ever seen the movie Office Space? That Case of the Mondays moment where you could just hear the girl in the corner just every day, same voice, same tone, every call, exactly the same. How long would you last? Would you be driven to bring others in? Would you tell your friends you'd want them to live that life with you? Because word of mouth matters, right? The way we move forward matters. And while I would love to have the consistent team, I will be honest, I'm prouder to have a team that changes once every 12 months, once every 2 years. You want to know why? Because it means they're moving forward. If I had the same people in the same position for a decade plus, I wouldn't be doing them any favors. They're not growing. They may be stable. They may be consistently employed, but are they stagnant? Because you know what happens with stagnant water? It's not good. One new pebble thrown into stagnant water can create a lot of problems. Actually, you can get very sick if you move into water that has been undisturbed for a very long time and you start playing with it. You can actually create this airborne problem. I watched it on these videos of people who break into broken down abandoned places, right? And then I was like, that is that real? Let me fact check. And I started looking into it, and it absolutely is. If nothing else, the mosquitoes after the rain in the water that's undisturbed, because there's no wind, there's no extra rain to unsettle it. It's perfect breeding grounds for those stinky little bloodsuckers. So when you think about it, what benefit is there to keep people comfortable, to not have them push forward, to not build skills, expand some responsibilities, maybe to allow them to grow into something that they're passionate about, that maybe not part of the job description currently. Maybe there was no social media when Becky started. Maybe she was hired before Google was a thing, and she's grown through Google and Google Workspace, and she can do the social media, but maybe now she wants to learn how to edit the photos. Maybe now she wants to be in Canva, not just posting. Do you ask? And how often? When you hire a consultant, a coach, somebody from the outside, a fresh human for the team who's going to bring that fresh perspective, it very much is like changing the filter on a photo. The way you have them look at the organization, the way somebody with fresh eyes comes in and changes what everybody can see. If people have never diversified their knowledge base because they've been with you for a decade, and they haven't even been privy to workshops or lunch and learns, you haven't hired consultants or coaches to come in and have conversations that open up their mindset, invite new ideas, concept, tools, how are they supposed to bring you new things? How are you supposed to get the most out of what's available today if you're not giving room to change what you see? If you refuse to take off your sunglasses and look around the room with a fresh set of eyes, if you refuse to try on somebody else's glasses to look through their perspective, and this is all just metaphor, guys, but if you refuse to sit in somebody else's seat, if you refuse to ask somebody to come in and help you see maybe what you're not seeing, what kind of leader are you? And are you teaching your team to be open to new perspectives and concepts and ways to learn and look at things? Oftentimes what I see is we'll just have a workaround, right? What worked really well for a day or two to get us by. Hey, we're at an event. We forgot the extra extension cords, guys. We need power. We need the booth. I don't know what to do. We can't leave. We have 15 minutes till launch. What are we going to do? We adapt, right? We figure it out. We get a splitter. We borrow an extension cord. We add whatever we can to the one. And that might work for a short time while we're all standing there watching. But what happens when you adapt too much? I mean, genuinely, how chaotic can you make your power source before it's just overloaded? Adaption is something you use on the grow, in the moment when you have no option but to make it happen right now. There is no way we can do anything but this in this moment. I think about being left in the battlefield, right? Where on the ground, there is no help. There's no resource that could just come in and save the day. We can't call AAA if the Humvee breaks down. So they adapt. And that's great. And I think it's wonderful to have that mindset. And there's so many organizations that put a lot of weight behind the military experience because of their adaptability. But there's only so much duct tape you can use before it's not effective, before it doesn't look so hot from the outside. There's only so much power source you can you can utilize out of the strip before it's going to start a fire, burn out, short circuit. It's going to damage what's plugged into it. What if you're the power source, guys? As a leader of a business, as the person who's onboarding, hiring, training, consulting, teaching, collaborating, if you're the power source that moves all things, then what happens when you become overloaded? What happens when that workaround gets you all tangled up? Because when I look at this pile, guys, I would hate to put my hand in the middle of that and move it around a bit and then try to just release my hand cleanly without being tangled. I couldn't imagine if I had to run to a client and this was in my way. What if I had a hallway full of this standing between me and a signed contract? And I'll be honest, guys, I've seen the tech stacks that act this way. I have seen the approval processes act this way. And it may have worked well. Maybe, before Sally was hired, there was Bobby. And Bobby was a renegade. And Bobby just did what he wanted. And Bobby put anything in a contract he thought would get a yes without permission. And so wisely, there were some steps put into place. Things that we needed to do, because eventually when that contract came back around that we just filled in anything to get a yes, we were accountable for what we agreed to. When you find out shipping, for example, sometimes you hear, free shipping, and then you see that shiny little star right above that, right? And you think you're getting free shipping, but you forgot to read the fine print. And then you're just jumping ship from one vendor to another. You go over to the free shipping, and then you realize free shipping with X. Free shipping under this weight, but over this weight. Free shipping over this value amount, but under this weight amount. Free shipping if you're in these 5 states. Read the fine print, because what seems like an easy fix today may be a 3-year contract you can't get out of with a non-compete clause, right? You have to think about these things. Who are your vendors? How are you solving your problems? Is it a permanent solution? Is it because you sat in a meeting and they sold you in the meeting? Or did you do some research? Did you talk to your team? Did you just apply? Or did you have a meeting with value to ask the questions? Because what you think is a good solution may not be if you're not listening to the problems before applying. Is any of this making sense to my salespeople? Any of it? The other thing I notice a lot when I'm in these businesses, especially when it's a solopreneur, of course, this is a people-powered system. You are your system. You are all of it when you start. As you grow forward, you need to delegate. You need to remove people from the systems. Maybe you don't have to answer every phone call. Maybe you do have an answering service. Maybe you're not sending handwritten letters anymore because the power of the typewriter, and then the fax machine, and then the computer, and now your phone. How many of these things did people used to have to do for you? And how many of these things can we lighten the load on now? If we had more training, if you understood more tech, if you took time to learn what options are out there that could optimize your business. And I know a lot of leaders are like, listen, I think this is great, but you know how busy we are? Sure. Being busy is a great problem. How long can you maintain busy before it becomes broken? Because the truth is, if you're busy now chasing your tails, trying to get it all to work, what happens when the contract's signed? What happens if one of your employees burns out because you've overloaded them? And now that person who was pushing your system is gone. Are you your system? So often we feel like we are indispensable. We cannot let anything go. We have to do every task in the building. As a coach, right, I love a good to-do list. Sometimes I write them. Sometimes I say, hey, ChatGPT, here's my last journal entries from the last 4 weeks. Can you repeat this process for me? Anything that isn't consistently repeating, can you ask me if we should add it again? Boom. I just optimized my to-do list. Did it stop there? No. But was it a great starting point to eliminate the stuff I know I have to do, like grocery shopping, get gas, water your plants? The things that sometimes I can forget if I don't write it down or put in a little memory thing. Because I'll be honest, guys, sometimes I'm so far away in my brain that I'm not looking at my dashboard's gas gauge. I notice when it turns red, but I would prefer to catch it at about a quarter of a tank because it's better for your car. I know this. I don't want a broken system, preventative maintenance. So what do? I schedule an alert on the day that I know that I'm about to hit a quarter of a tank. I know how I drive. I can, look at my systems and figure out where I should implement a solution to fix the broken part, right? So I don't run on low fuel ever. So I don't make my car work that hard. I recommend, if you're a leader, write this down, please. But I recommend you just go to your team and ask what's working, what's not. If you have no idea where to start, that's a very simple place. What's working, what's not. And just listen to what they say first, because you might think it's your tech stack, and then they're going to tell you it's your attitude. Maybe you're going to think that they want more benefits or PTO, and really what they want is more flex time, but their benefits package is perfect. Maybe they're happy with it, right? But you heard somebody talk about benefits in a room somewhere else on a phone call and on a reel on LinkedIn. And so you thought that was your solution without asking your team what the problems were. And I see that a lot, guys. And I think it's great when you're proactively trying to fix problems. But if you're not talking to your team about the ones that they're thinking about every day as a priority to them, you're doing it wrong. Unless you are like bleeding money and you're trying to solve for that, unless you're actively losing business and you're trying to solve for that, the first thing a good leader should do is go to the team and ask them what they're losing out on, what they need more of, and how you can help. Does that make sense? This is how you make sure you are solving the right problems. It's easy as leaders to think we know everything, right? We built this brand. This is my baby. I sat at the table in my house on my day off when I was working for somebody else and built my logo. Of course, I know what's happening in my brand. Of course, I understand what I need to do next. I think that's the silliest thing I would ever want to voice in reality. Admitting you don't know a lot is probably the best way to play when you're not certain. If you did not put your eyeballs on the air filter, you can't be certain you're addressing the right problems. You can't. And you're not supposed to know your air filter unless you're a mechanic or you're a tech or you're in that industry and that's your or it's your hobby and you're checking it yourself and you have a to-do list and you have a list from the manufacturer who said this is the recommended maintenance for your vehicle, and you understand how to do the maintenance and you understand how the tools work and you understand what happens if it's somewhere in the middle. It was easy to tell when I went and looked at this photo that it was time. But what if it wasn't this clear? What if the color was just slightly eggshell? Do you know what to contemplate next? Do you know what to consider when you're making this decision? It's not necessarily so visible now that I can know that it's time. It's kind of in between. I'm not certain. Do you ask? Do you err on the side of caution and just go, yes, let's replace it? Because truth is, I know in the next year, it's going to do a lot of work and I may not do it. Or, hey, you know what? I get an oil change every 3 months. The air filter will be fine for another 3 months. Do you understand how often you're putting your processes to work and how long they can withstand that pressure before it breaks? It's okay if you don't know, but how long do you want to be there, right? Once you identify you don't understand something, do you make a plan for that? Or do you just go, oh, I just don't know that? Because I've never been I just don't know that girl, and not wanted to fix it. I want to be a know-it-all. That's probably one of my best and worst traits, if I'm being honest. It's why I call myself a little bit of Betty White, a little bit of Lisa Frank, and a little bit of Google in a blender. Because if I don't know, the first thing I'm going to do is, well, let's go find out. And so if you're not bringing that mindset, if you don't have that next step in your automatic drive system to say, hey, once I leave this level, I go to this level, how are you going to solve your problems? How are you going to be proactively preventing those things so they don't break down? And if your team is so valuable that you kept them for a decade, why wouldn't you want to prevent their headaches? So look deeper, solve smarter, and create a lasting change. Is this resonating with you guys? Are you awake? Did I put you back to sleep? Good morning, Felipe. Welcome. I'm live with him tomorrow, guys. Make sure you go over to his profile and click attend on our show. We have a great networking conversation we're going to be having. He says, have you seen my red stapler? Listen, I love Office Space, and I got to tell you, at different facets of my career, it meant different things. And when I first watched it, I had not really worked in an office. I don't think. I know by the second, third, fifth time I had seen it, I was in the office and I was like, I know who that lady is that talks about the case of the Mondays. I know I have one in my office, and I could feel it. And then after working for myself, working remotely for as long as I had, I went back and watched it again. And when I watched it then, I felt so free. I felt like I had been hypnotized. And if you've seen the movie, you get it. Because I solved the right problems for my life. And I it's kind of cliche, and it's, definitely part of the topic today. But the truth is, if you're unhappy, you can solve for that. You just have to make sure you're solving the right problem. Sometimes people quit a job they love just because they're frustrated with a stapler, right? And you don't want to do that. Not over a stapler, especially if you could just go buy your own and send your bill to your boss because you have a daily stipend you're allowed to spend for, right? When you think about being a solution versus the problem, it definitely helps. Another thing that I will say is, quite often, there's just too many steps to get simple done. So here we go on SMART goals. I got to tell you guys, I love them and I hate them. I think SMART goals are really important for long-term, high-level plans, goals, things we need to get done. But if I just want to sweep the spilled peas on the floor, I'm not going to sit down and go, I need to take a deep breath, go get the broom, go get the dustpan, sweep it up, walk over to the trash can, dump it out, and then do it. I'm just going to go, right? I don't want to have to set a time frame. I don't want to have to do the SMART goals steps on paper. But the truth is, we already know the steps, right? Some of these things we can automatically do. Some of these things we're overdoing, right? Like in so many ways, I'm trying to find the right word, but we're definitely creating problems where there shouldn't be. There are people and times and businesses and industries that require every step be completed in a specific way because it is the compliant way to go. And I love that for background screening. I love that for banking. I love that for all of those security kind of roles. I think it's really wise to take your time. But when you have something small, short, fast, you don't always need that, right? And so how many steps does it take for your team to get something done? And how many of those steps are absolutely required versus how many are just something you thought you had to explain early because maybe Sally didn't understand it, but Billy gets it. Billy never needed those extra steps. Billy doesn't need the filter. And so maybe now that we've grown, maybe now that we've added additional tech, maybe the steps have changed. It doesn't always take a ton of work to get work done, but those meetings that aren't needed, those emails that aren't necessary, the the follow-ups, or hey, make sure you send it over to so-and-so to get approved before you send it, when you know that the last 25 contracts have been excellent, perfected from the get-go. They did it right, and they don't need a second set of eyes anymore. When do you take the harness off? When do you take the training wheels off and let them run? I think as we grow, right, it definitely, it comes back to holding out for the things we're comfortable with, being in that, but holding on to the old ways. This is how we've always done it. This is what I built my business on. This is what created my success. If the fax machine was your way to play and you would just randomly fax phone numbers saying, hey, I'm Bob and I do accounting, let me do your numbers, and that was a way you got your clients in the 80s, congrats, Bob. That was freaking fantastic. It was like sending your resume on a birthday cake. Well done. How many fax numbers are active today, Bob? How many of those faxes get returned contracts now? Think about those things that we used to do because they mattered and they worked and they were wonderful and they had excellent outcomes, to what we do today. Because Bob could automate his fax machine processes, but in an email format. He could create a newsletter. He could do email marketing to his client base. He could ask for referrals that way, and he could do it from his cell phone. He could post it on his social. Has he changed his approach, or is he still trying to hold on to his favorite machine that started it all? And how long would you want to be with an accountant who wasn't emailing you spreadsheets active that you guys could both see at the same time being adjusted? What if your clients are ready to move forward and you're not? Think about the ways you're bogging down your system, your clients, your coworkers, colleagues, because you're refusing to let go of the things that make you comfortable, right? And listen, I love a good hammock. I love it. I love being able to set it and forget it. I'm a Ronco kid. I grew up on those infomercials at night. You know, let me hear you say infomercial if you know what I mean, the before and afters. I love the idea of just being able to do what I needed to do and move on about my day. But at some point, the machine breaks down. Without maintenance, the wheels don't spin, right? Even your vehicle that's running tip top needs you to watch the tires and the gas tank and the oil, the coolant levels. Just yesterday, matter of fact, one of my former employees who happens to still work close by was in the parking lot, broken down. And I just asked, how can I help? What's going on? And truth is, she was trying to troubleshoot. She thought it was her key fob battery, so she had put a new battery in, and that didn't work. We had thought that maybe the car wasn't starting because of an anti-theft, right? There's a lot of great use of technology these days, and if they think you're trying to steal the car, maybe they'll just shut the car down and not let you take it. So we tried that. That didn't work. Then I was like, you know what? Just pop the hood. Let me see what's happening underneath there. And when we opened it, I saw something I wasn't used to seeing. I didn't expect to see. Her battery terminal had left the post. Her battery was disconnected under the hood. We get so comfortable that the battery's connected in our car, right? Like, of course, nothing's changed. We haven't popped the hood. Why would that change? Especially a battery post being on the terminal. They're locked in. They're screwed down. Why would that change? But for some reason, it did. And before she changed the battery, before she did anything else, wouldn't it have been easy to just like kind of pop the hood and look around? Now, there was no reason to assume the terminal wasn't connected to the, for sure. But because of the operations brain, I'm like, well, we've tried this. Let's look at this part. Let's go to the source of the problem, right? You're just troubleshooting. I see Aaron Gibson showed up. HVAC guy. Totally would get what I'm saying here, because when something's on the fritz, you have to chase the problem down. And even if it's running, you hear the AC running, even if it's pushing air, maybe it's just not pushing the coldest air it could, right? And it goes back to the filter. In this moment, we're assuming that the car is set up perfectly under the hood, that everything should be as it is, and that's great. But as soon as we looked, we saw a problem. As soon as we looked deeper, as soon as somebody came in and went, okay, I know what steps to take because I've lived this before. Let me help. Guys, it's so much easier to hire somebody to come in who can look at it and instantly tell what's not working versus trying to learn how to optimize your business from the inside while you're growing, while you're learning, while you're trying to identify it. Could you imagine trying to be a detective while you're in school to be a detective? It's okay if you want to learn how to do it, but before you try to be your own solution again, before you try to keep the control of just looking through your own lens, why wouldn't you offer an opportunity to your team, your business, yourself, to have somebody come in and just give you some additional insights, a second point of view? I've talked before in my lives about turning your cup. It's very easy in communication to have a one-sided debate, to be very aware and confident in your position. If you and I go on a coffee date, we might both get the same cup of hot coffee put in front of us, cute little brown mugs, the cafe style. They may bring us our sugar, our cream. I'm excited to get into my coffee. You're drinking yours. I'm ready to drink mine. As soon as I go to put it to my lips, you tell me, stop. Don't drink that. Now, immediate results in some brains would be like, how dare you? You're drinking yours. Why can't I drink mine? And they get offended. Another person might just be confused. Hey, what's going on? Let me ask additional questions. Why shouldn't I drink that? And you have to determine what kind of person in between those two you want to be. But being willing to say, okay, why? Before you're upset, even if you have a little bit of a spicy tone, like, what do you mean, Lauren Sermon? Why can you drink your coffee and I can't mine? Explain that to me, please. She would say, babe, you've got lipstick on your cup. Like, turn your cup around. Somebody else's red lip is still there. They didn't clean it. I don't want you to drink out of a dirty cup. Changing perspective, being open to having somebody tell you there's toilet paper on your shoe, there's lipstick on your cup. I see something behind you crawling on the wall. We shouldn't eat here. We got to go. Right? How often are you willing to hear somebody out before you determine that they don't have what you need? And how do you know they don't have what you need if you're not willing to hear them out? See this a lot in business. A lot of the best businesses in the world will fail because of this leadership mindset. You can't tell me anything. I'm above you. Whereas other leaders I've worked for, even yesterday I was meeting with a leader. She is new to me. I won't speak who she is, but she's in the organization I work for, very high level. And we are worlds apart on the chart of seniority, right? I'm in a lower level leadership role at the store. This person is way higher. That said, one of my favorite questions asked in the meeting was, what can I do better in my role to help you at your level? She was ready to hear me. The purpose of the meeting was just to get to know somebody else in the organization. I didn't really see the need to have any demands for this person in their role. But once asked, I was so excited to say, hey, listen, I'm only 5'4", and sometimes this is my problem and it's too tall and 6 foot. And I was able to give feedback, not just on what, but why and how it mattered. That leadership question, being willing to ask, can you give me your perspective, is going to change the game for hundreds of stores possibly. How much value is in that when you can have one conversation, 5 minutes time? I mean, maybe 5 minutes of the conversation was this, and it's going to have a ripple that's so vast and wide that it's going to help alleviate a pain point for numerous stores. This is the epitome of, let's stop with the workarounds, right? Like, let's get through this. What's wrong? What can we fix? How can this help? And the truth is, my issue is I am a shorter person. I don't want to have things that are taller than me showing up for me to deal with. Because if I'm working above my height, it's a danger. I've done staffing in manufacturing. I've had to do safety walkthroughs. I understand what to look for. And so having this conversation with a random person about a random thing with that question asked by that leader is absolutely a different way to have people powering the system, right? We're breaking it, but we're also empowering ourselves to fix it. And when I think about it, I just love this energy of the battery being charged by the human and the humans connecting. And I almost want to see that brick, that block filled with that rainbow power, right? Let's fill the gaps. If we're going to use people to power the systems, let's power the solutions, not the entire program, right? We can have people run the tech stack, but don't make them the tech stack. There's so much power in AI these days that if you guys aren't using it in your business, then I can tell you right now, you have too many steps to get the simple done. Even your meetings, even that summary email that comes after the meeting because you allowed Gemini to take notes or whatever your tool is, there's power in it. You should take your own notes for sure, but what if you were so busy writing down your notes that you missed the next 2 lines of what Steve said, and Steve had the magic sauce for your business, your branch, your problem, and you missed it because you were doing what you've always done, which is take good notes. And I appreciate good notes. I also have always taken good notes, but I take them differently these days, guys. I might write down the time frame. Oh, it's 9:45 when Steve said that magic thing. So I'll write down 9:45, Steve's statement. So then when the notes come in, I go look for that 9:45 comment. What was it he was talking about? I don't have to write down everything. I just have enough to know I'm looking for X later. And I'm back to Steve now. Think about your processes, guys. The time management 101 was always, if you touch something 3 times, you're just supposed to do it. You've got a lot of paperwork on your desk. Maybe you have some applicants you're trying to process. Maybe you have your to-do list that's written there. If you move that piece of paper 3 times, you're supposed to, on the 3rd time, just execute. Because the truth is, if you move it much more, you're wasting more time than necessary. And so how many times a day do you touch the same thing before you do it? How many times have you moved that doom box from room to room to room, or your laundry basket? How many times has it been filled but not folded? Maybe instead of just pulling all the laundry out of the dryer and putting it in the basket and putting it wherever you put it, maybe you should fold each item as you put it in the basket. So then when you take the basket out, you just go put the folded stuff away. Maybe there's a new step you can take to have less steps later, right? Because the truth is, guys, if you are just looking at something as simple as laundry, right? We would wash, then dry, fold, iron, starch, put away, whatever it is. Now you can get a machine that will wash and dry in the same cycle. You don't even have to swap machines. That's a nice step for a mom who doesn't want to have to take 5 minutes every 45 minutes to swap it out. By cutting it in half, by just having to do it once every 2 hours instead of once every 45 minutes, whatever, optimize the day, right? Think about the roles you've created for yourself. The things that no longer serve you. Maybe you used to have a bedtime at 1 a.m. You were young, you could go to bed at 1, wake up at 6, and still run all day long, and you were fine. But these days, trying to do that is not going to help you work most efficiently the next day. Right? You've always done it though. For 20 years, you were able to do the same schedule and it was fine. And then maybe your body changed. Maybe your responsibilities changed. Maybe the way you were taking care of yourself while you were awake changed. Maybe you're no longer eating as healthy as you used to. Maybe you're no longer working out the way you used to and getting those endorphins to help push through the day. Maybe the fax machine was part of the rules of business and now there's less results in it, right? We've talked about that. And so what are your policies? What are your procedures? What is the approval process for anything around you? How many steps does it take to get a yes to order new paper for the printer? Having been at the top of a corporate ladder and then moving down into multiple steps down from the top into a store level is different for me. Having to put in a request for products for my store, to order the cleaning supplies and whatever else I might need, and then have at least one other person approve the request before it can be shipped is a deep breath moment for me, right? I understand the premise and I would absolutely implement the same rules if I was in charge of 170 plus locations. However, I just also know it is an extra step for me that slows me down. If I know that this is a step that's going to slow me down because when I need these products, I have additional steps to take, then I need to prepare for that. I need to create a procedure of if you're running low, this is when you order it so that way you don't run out because you have those additional steps. And at what point does that slow down the system as a whole, right? It works today. Is there a value in removing it tomorrow? Are there exceptions? Maybe, if you're a certain level in the company, you no longer need the approvals, like a district manager in a retail environment usually has a budget and they just spend what they need within the budget. They don't need additional approval. It's already approved because you have a budget, spend it your way. Here's what we want you to do with it. Do it. If that doesn't work, how often are you guys revisiting that? If you're the corporation I'm consulting, I would ask you, how often do you look at what they're spending, how they're spending, what they're spending on? Is there any room for improvement? Are they all spending the same amount on the same things that maybe we can purchase directly and ship to them instead of having them buy individually? Batteries, for example, guys. Batteries are a huge part of our business in retail. You don't think so, but we have security cameras, we have door dingers, we have sensors in motion, and they're working at all times. They run out of batteries pretty quickly. I just needed some batteries. These days, to get 2 of them, it's like $15 or something for these things at Home Depot. Not a big deal. But to get them directly from the source was going to be multiple hundreds of dollars. And they weren't giving me more, necessarily more, just a few extra. And so when you look at your rules, your procedures, it's okay if 1 or 2 stores were purchasing the batteries from the security company, having them install it on site. It's an ease of use thing. It makes sense. But financially, long term, if I were to look at the optimization of this, I would absolutely just ship batteries to the store and have the security companies install them while there. We can provide that. It's like bringing your own oil to an oil change. If you have a killer deal on oil and you can utilize that, why wouldn't you? And if you know that's available to your team, if you know you can make a call and make it happen, why wouldn't you optimize that? Knowledge is power. Having the knowledge doesn't mean you have to implement everything, right? You can have opinions. It doesn't mean you have to change the way you do it all. I said that in the show write-up, that just because we're changing the filter doesn't mean we have to change the engine. I don't even want to change your vehicle. I want you to stay exactly the way you are, but I just want you to run more efficiently. And if you don't have anything that feels outdated yet, if you don't feel like anything can be improved on, maybe you're already in information overload. A lot of times when I'm coaching businesses, the first thing I have to tell them is to slow down, to speed up. It's not that these really wise business leaders, these incredible talents who have done the work to create businesses that are sustained and big and have multiple facets to them, or have all of these, employees, hundreds of employees, and yet they're still looking for help to get clear. And it's because you can only process so much. If we are the human computers, just think of ourselves being overwhelmed by the data, having so many sticky notes like this. Imagine this in your brain. And then somebody comes up and says, okay, optimize it. I don't even know what these sticky notes say. How am I supposed to optimize it if I don't even know what I'm looking at yet? And these sticky notes give me data pointers, but what do the data pointers actually lead me to? And is this little sticky note going to create a 10-step process once I read it? If I looked at this to-do list of sticky notes on this screen, I would be overwhelmed. I would. Wouldn't you? Sometimes you just need somebody to come in and go, okay, you know what? We're going to organize it by color. We're going to organize it by sticky note size. The bigger the sticky note, the bigger the problem, maybe, right? Maybe I'm just going to organize them all in a row and we're going to sort them from there by priority. There's always a method. Just because there is data doesn't mean we need to add more, right? Like, because more data doesn't always work, but maybe just organizing what we already know, just sorting it out. And then the good Venn diagram brain, right? What do we know? What are we doing? And how can we improve it? What can change? What can't? There's so many ways to play with data that once you know what you have, it creates its own new results, right? As you break down information, as you take steps into the processes or into your to-do list, it creates additional steps and more data. Are you going to do that alone? If you're already overwhelmed and you're already not kind of seeing the problems before they become problems, you're already not in prevention mode, you're going to need help. You're going to need help, or you're going to need to pause. And sometimes you need help to pause. Sometimes you need to delegate that to somebody else. Sometimes organizations will hire a fractional person to step into the role while the other is decompressing, reorganizing, on sabbatical, leveling up their own, skill set, whatever it is. That could be an option. If you're in life and you're like, listen, lady, that's really cute, but my kids won't let me have a sabbatical, so good job. Okay, great. Where's grandma? Can she watch the kids for an hour? Can she do it once a week? Because we could coach in an hour and we could definitely decompress in that hour and at least get it organized enough that when you go back with the kids, you know what you're looking at. Even if they're talking to you, you're clear on your to-do list. Even if you have 1 million employees pulling at you all the time from 9 to 5, we can meet from 8 to 9. And getting that clarity before they start asking things of you may prepare you to answer immediately and not have to circle back. That's going to clean up your schedule, your time frame. It's going to give you more time to think about things because you don't have so much coming at you you're not planning for. This is true in your home. If you know you're always out of milk on Sunday morning, buy 2 gallons on Friday instead of 1. I mean, it's simple things, but we get so busy being busy, we forget to prevent next week's problem because they repeat. How many of you guys journal? How many of you write down the good days and the bad days? And how do you journal? Oh, good morning, Sean. I see you there. I love a good journal for wins. I like to write down when I meet cool people. I love to write down when I get new contracts. I also like to write down bad days. I don't necessarily need to glorify them with a ton of details, but I could just put, had a really bad day. This is what happened. This is how I recovered. Or working on recovery. Still trying to process. Still working on a solution. If I see those same problems showing up multiple times a month, I got to figure out where they're coming from. Is there a way to prevent the breakdown before the breakdown? If I know every Thursday there's a breakdown with the kids or the emotions or whatever it is, the business, the contracts, the clients, there's always a problem by Thursday. How do we prevent it? If you have the information and you don't use it, what kind of grade would you give yourself if that was your employee doing it? You have everything in front of you, but you're not using it. You know you're overwhelmed, but you're not fixing it. You know you're not okay, but you're not addressing it. You know you're in a downward spiral, but you're not preventing it. Having somebody tell you, hey, when you feel this way, you need to go take a deep breath. You need to take some time off. You need to get some help. You need to communicate it. That doesn't fix it if you don't apply, right? And if you're already overloaded, there's nothing I can give you on a to-do list of well-being and self-care that's going to make you want to do it because you're already too busy to have another list. So when you get to that point, I just want you to write down all the things you have to do, the things that are weighing you down so much that you can't even enjoy the other things yet. Because just like your grocery list, when you write it down, your brain will soften. It will release it. You don't have to keep repeating the same things over and over in your head. If it's written down, your brain will let it go. Even if it's just temporarily, guys. Right? It's a workaround. For sure. It's not a work through. Writing the list down is a workaround. But imagine being able to just put this tangled mess down for a minute. You've been wrapped in it. You're restricted by it. It's overwhelming your brain. If this is your thought process and you can't get out of it, imagine the chaos. And so sometimes just writing down the list of the things that are a problem gets you out of the tangle, right? It starts to allow you to find the end of the tangle so you can work through that. If you have one end of this rope and you know where you're starting, you can definitely break it down. But you first have to identify it's a problem, right? And it goes back to some of the things we've been talking about. My mom was a recovering addict in her time, and the serenity prayer, accepting the things we cannot change, having the courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. If I pick up this pile and go, oh my gosh, this is an accounting nightmare, this is numbers, I'm probably just going to go, here, Mr. Accountant, here is this beautiful flower of chaos. Can you please help sort it out? That's sometimes enough, guys, just being willing to say, I need somebody else to help. And I love that. I got to be honest, if you're not sure, if you know it's broken and you just can't tell me why, you can't identify it yourself. You can't even tell your team what they need to fix because you can't figure it out. You're too busy being productive. You can break it down, right? It's urgent, but not important. Important, but not urgent. And then what is actually going to move the needle? Whatever the needle is. You need to make income. You need to optimize. You need to increase, productivity, whatever it is. You got to focus on what matters because everything else may be of value, but the value will be much less once you've identified these 3 pillars. I like 3 to-do lists at all time. I break it down into 24 hours, 7 days, and then after. If it does 8 days to 8,000 days, I don't care. It's after. And what I focus on is the super urgent, the things that cannot wait, happen in the next 24 hours, the things I must get done. If I get those things done, I can go into the weekly list. I can jump ahead and start pulling things off that list to prevent my week from being bogged down. And it's a fantastic thing. I can be productive without having to be busy just moving things back and forth, reshuffling those papers. If I finish that list, I can go into the after list. If somehow I'm just having the most productive day of my whole life, I can knock out today's list, this week's list, I can move into the after list. it's a great way to play. It's a great way to invest in yourself and your time and growth in your business when you know as soon as I have a little wiggle room, I'm going to roll out the new product. I'm going to step into the new facet of my business. I'm going to engage X, right? Sometimes success is blinding our next step. And you may not know it. You're so busy celebrating that you're not harvesting or sowing seeds for next year's harvest. The hardest A to keep is the one you already have, right? Once you've hit the top, once you've been a gold winner, the champion in the Olympics, it's hard to maintain that unless you're invested in repeating it and optimizing what you've already done successfully and removing the things you know held you back. How long do you celebrate your success before you start building your next one? As of today, we've talked about my successes with the retail environment, right? We're a top 10 store for one of our KPIs, and we're still maintaining that. We're in the top 25 for another KPI, and we're maintaining that. In our district, we are leading in KPIs, or did last month. I got to double check this month. We're almost at the end here again, but always at the top of the podium. Whether it's the gold, the silver, the whatever, third place, it could be. But very rarely are we not there. And the reason we always end up there is because we look at what we missed the last time. Even if we were gold, there is always room to improve. There's always something else we can do. And to be honest with you, I would absolutely look at my numbers if for some reason we stopped succeeding, right? We would have to look at what we've been doing and why it stopped working. Maybe our fax machine is no longer the newest, coolest thing. Maybe in this retail environment that I work in, with it being motorcycle gear, maybe they've already purchased what I have in the store and they need more options, right? Maybe your menu has been fantastic forever, but they're just so tired of the same old, and they've had their favorites and they've tried them all and they've rotated their favorites and now they're bored. So they're going to go somewhere else for a new menu item. Or you're going to see your sales are dwindling. Your fish fry Friday is no longer hitting the way it used to, and maybe you try something else. If you're always on top, it's a beautiful place to be. But how do you stay there? What is the secret? Is it because there's no competition where you are? Because it's very easy to be number one if you're the only one, right? It definitely is. And that could be a wonderful business plan. Be yourself, be unique. There is not another Lisa Frank, Betty White, Google, and a blender out there. There are others who use facets of it, and then they have their own seasoning they sprinkle in. But there's only one way to be Melissa Houston. There's another Melissa Houston out there, but she's a financial coach, and she doesn't use the Lisa Frank color schemes. It's easy to confuse us if you don't know who we are, but once you've met us, it's very easy. And once you've engaged with the brands, it's easy to differentiate. What are your success blind spots, guys? Who's coming up the rear and you don't see it? Who is, I just keep thinking of these race analogies because I'm thinking motorcycles on a track, but who is right behind you on your tail and you don't even notice? You're so overwhelmed by your success and the information overload we talked about, right? And all of those meetings that we keep having just to plan more meetings. You're running, you're doing great, but you're busy because the people are powering your system. What are you missing? Because truthfully, there's a bottleneck in everything. Guys, there's always a way to improve the process. I don't care what it is. There's always a way. Even if that beautiful mechanical system has optimized itself to the full potential, can we solar power the machine now? Can we hydropower? Can we change the way the machine noise level functions? Can we optimize that? Is there a way to improve where it's placed in the building to get it to function a little bit better on the floor plan? Maybe it's not even the machine I'm talking about, just the placement of said machine. When do you stop looking at the flow? When do you stop optimizing? And who gets to tell you it's wrong? It can be improved. If your restriction, if your bottleneck is nobody can reach you to share in their insights or what they're seeing, how do you fix it? Who can tell you that? And how often are you open to that feedback? There's a whole lot going on in this, guys, for sure. But my question to you really is, are you in a comfort zone? Are you being complacent? Is your business running that way? I want to hear from you. I have somebody already requesting the link to come on stage. If you'd like to join, I would love to hear what's coming up for you in this. But just a friendly reminder, guys, I am Melissa Houston, cultivator of dreams, motivator of human capital. You can find my website at documentthenact.com. It is the premise in which I find all success lies. You have to write it down. You have to get to work. You can't process any of this business without a contract, guys. There's always some kind of documentation in place. So make sure you're optimizing that for your use, right? How are you going to utilize your ability to write things down and get them done? How are you going to protect yourself in writing? How are you going to grow? Who's going to help you formulate that? And what kind of pen are you going to use? Like, all of this matters, right? I want you to think about the things that are hiding right in front of you. The things that may hold you back that you're aware of. Maybe it's choking down the system. Maybe you sit in bed an extra 10 minutes when you know you shouldn't. Maybe you take a little bit longer in the shower than you know you should in the morning. What would you do with that time if you had it back? What would happen to your business if you gave your business that extra 10 minutes every day for a year? What if you could give your team that extra hour of meeting back once a week, because that meeting really isn't bringing out the results that same hour could be bringing if they were just left to their own devices and you sent them an email? If you can't trust your team to decipher an email with clearly defined instructions, then is this a skill issue for your team? Is this a training issue? Is this a personal issue for you because you don't delegate well? You don't communicate effectively? You can't tell them how to bake a cake unless you're standing there over their shoulder going, no, not that way. No, not that. Yeah, that way. Because that's not how some people learn, guys. What's bogging it down? Chris, welcome to the stage. What's coming up for you?
Oh my God, I was muted. Oh, so much is, oh my God. You are speaking my love language in so many ways. So I'll try to make it as brief as I can. But I uh I work in that space anyway of optimizing and reducing redundancies and all the Kaizen stuff that you were saying. And we've and internally at my organization, we just have it's come up recently about like too many meetings. There's no value. There's it's just without any disrespect to anybody, it's just because we always did it. And I say no to a lot of meetings politely, and I'll offer an alternative. Like you mentioned, a lot of times I'll say I'll just put together some bullets, or let me understand what you want to know, and we can exchange some things, in a short way written. And then if we have to connect and explore more, then we can do that. I love what you said too about like the wins and the losses journal. I don't do that. I think that's a really good idea. And I actually made a mistake yesterday, without without TMI, but I had that lettuce thing. Like whatever. My stomach was killing me yesterday, and I was trying to relax. I got some sort of food poisoning from the lettuce thing. I don't know if that's happening everywhere, or just on the East Coast.
I
But
have heard about it. I have not
yes.
experienced it.
Oh, it's awful. So I'm feeling better today. But anyway, I had to jump out of bed because I realized I did something wrong, and what upset me more is what you were saying. like sometimes we get so set in our ways, or I thought I would try something new and do it a different way. And I kind of dropped the ball on something. And I was like horrified with myself and really going into a severe panic mode and putting stuff into chat. And then I was proud of myself because somehow I came up with a bunch of ideas on my own. I realized I have this gigantic network. I realized some, like maybe an account isn't lost, like there's still a way to recover it. And anyway, without going into too many details, I learned so much. Like by the time the night was over, I stayed up too late, but I really had more clarity, and I really know I'm not going to do this. I mean, I might make the same mistake, but hopefully, you know, hopefully I don't, or that often.
I
And go ahead,
yeah,
Michelle.
before you go to your last point,
Yes,
or whatever point,
yes.
I think there's so much value in that loss journal or the accident journal or the whatever,
Hmm.
because if you keep making the mistakes, you'll see that pattern evolving and then you can correlate it. If you made a mistake, you can put lettuce down there, right? You could just write the word lettuce with a little sad face and you're going to remember, well, I made a mistake because I was running everywhere that day for my life. But maybe there's something on a Thursday. I'm going to use relationships, for example. Maybe on Thursday, you're both overwhelmed, you're feeling burnout. Maybe it's the kids you're fighting with, whatever it is, you're tug of war, it's too much. And every time you make dinner on Thursday, there's a meltdown somewhere in the house. Freaking order pizza. Just order pizza on Thursday.
I like that.
Right?
Yes.
When you figure out those habits, the patterns, whatever it is, that's when you can solve for it. And so, yes, please track that. What was your other idea?
My last thing, because I could really go on forever on this topic, but what you were saying about organizations, like there was a rogue person, whatever. You don't know how much I'm coming across that, or how much I have in the past. Like I have to go back to like the likes of Shell and say, we don't have T's and C's. Do you know that? This stuff that happens, or corners that were cut, and we're doing business with like these ginormo companies for years, and I have to have these crazy conversations like that. But it's due diligence, and it's the right way to do it going forward. And an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, right? So I just want to tie one more thing into what you said that really was great for me, is like you need to slow down before you speed up. So I'm trying to tell my current organization this, because I am trying to change things here. And I don't think we were always we were treating what we do as a commodity, and it was a transaction, and that's not what it is. It's capability building, it's transformation for individuals and organizations. And I think they want to go in that direction, but they still want us to operate like just flip renewals and deals. And I'm like, we've got to like do a whole course correct and reset and have a deep conversation with Boeing and DuPont and whoever, and get to the right stakeholders. And yeah, it's not going to be like you're just going to sell this many classes or whatever that we do here. It's that we're going to be doing deep work with people and assessments and benchmarking, and be valued and trusted advice, all that stuff. But it's just they're used to getting the quick win, and they want the big result. But I'm like, I'm playing the long game. It's a different game,
And
and
honestly,
it'll work.
there's so much to that too, guys, because as a salesperson, what used to work 20 years ago doesn't work today. There's always going to be room for a handshake and a smile. And I'm just going to say that out loud. But when you talk marketing, it's a different ballgame. We used to have so much television, ad revenue, radio for even like local restaurant promotion. That's non-existent now. It doesn't work. You might hear it, but it's always those nationwide brands where they can optimize the reach through every channel nationwide. Those smaller organizations that are in your hometown, mom and pop buildings, they're not going to be using radio or television because we don't live there. We opt out of ads in our streaming services, but we opt into ads if we call them reels, right? And so if you're strategizing and going, hey, we always want commercials, we just changed where we receive them. You don't have to pay a company to go create a reel. You can do that yourself if you wanted to, right? If you're not good at it, you could teach yourself, or you could delegate that out, sell it. But sometimes doing both, that's the Venn diagram coaching part. Like, yes, it needs an overhaul. Every organization needs a whole overhaul at some point. but you also have to maintain the flow of income. And the way they've always gotten the income was those contracts. So maybe a special 10% of the company gets moved over to the new way first. Maybe one big fish gets moved to the new way first. And then you use
I
that.
like that.
You know what I mean? And so
Yeah, I
you
like that a lot. Yeah, because you
that's
don't
why I
want to
love
bring
the Venn
everything to a
diagram.
screeching halt either.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
no,
because
yeah, I like
that's
that.
definitely what they're worried about, because this is what works. We have tried, true, tested this. We're scared to evolve from it, because if it stops working, we're in trouble. So what you do is say, okay, let's do a beta test. Let's take one new client, or let's try the new client who doesn't know the old way and try that. The new leads only get the new approach. Whatever it is, you do some beta testing, and then you use results and data to go, okay, so we tried with Bob and it worked. We should apply it to Sally now, see if it works here. And when you do that, everybody can be more confident, because again, guys, data is where it's at. It will always be about documentation, action, tracking, and adjusting. If you can say, hey, for example, in retail, I'm going to go back there just a step away from what you do a little bit, but Target Corporation is one of the best at merchandising. And I give them credit because they actually focus on it. When you walk into a Target, you have bins to your left that are discount bins, and those rotate often. I mean, I think once a week, maybe more, I don't even know. Because that changes every time you walk in the store, it feels different. A new store, new feeling, your brain can tell something's new. You're going to want to go figure out what it is. The FOMO has been engaged. Knowing that, I took that into my retail store. We don't have half the traffic. I don't have the merchandising team they have, but I can quickly rotate a quarter turn any of my displays once a week, and it looks brand new for those repeat customers. And I've done that, and it increased sales by 10% over last year. I mean, it's part of the facet that did 14%, whatever it was. But those small things, we can't do everything Target does, but can I replicate the shifts in my own way? Right. And so when you can say, hey, so-and-so corporation did this for their training, or for their contracts, or for their tech stack, and this was their success rate after 6 months. Yes, it was a little wonky the first 3. However, if we focus on just new clients, we should circumvent those issues. Then you have data, you have something they can bite into, and then you have a beta test that doesn't ruin your big contracts that they're trying to protect so ferociously, because they always are, guys. They really are. And rightly so. I'm not mad at them for that. You aren't either. That's how they pay you. But finding that middle ground, I love it.
Well, I had one more thing to say now, because you were mentioning
Please
Target.
do.
Well, you were mentioning Target, and it was reminding me of something I thought about when you were speaking. I forgot what you were talking about. Like not using the fax machine or whatever, or you have to change, and sometimes you have to change because of the competition. So like when Amazon came around, right? Like Walmart and Target, they all on the shipping side used to do things that at the time were revolutionary. I think Walmart came up with it, like cross stocking, where you have this skinny truck where you could load and unload at the same time. Well, that doesn't work for small packages. That works great for pallets, right? So, and then when Amazon was shipping small packages directly to somebody's home, that became a problem. And then when you get like this, when they went from like a few days to 2 days to like now 2 hours, 2 minutes, right? But the larger retailers, they had to adopt, and the way they did it is they'd measure all their inventory that's in stock at the stores, and so they can just ship from there, and give that same kind of service to the end customer. So I find all this kind of conversation like really fascinating. That's why I love what I do too, because you can apply it in your own life. And what I'm realizing, Melissa, from your conversations, is that I don't apply it enough in my own life, but I tell everybody what to do with their business, right?
And
So,
honestly,
yeah.
that's the way it is. The mechanic has the car that needs the most work. The guy who does construction hasn't finished his deck. It's just what it is. We always put others first. And the truth is, our brain only does so much in a day. And if you're optimizing others when it comes to you, you give yourself permission to not. You give that permission to rest or not evolve or get comfortable. It's like, maybe tomorrow I'll work on that. But the truth is, if we just have somebody else. And this is where it comes in, that the coaches, the consultants, the accountability partners, just a good friend. Any of these things matter to where you can have the conversation out loud and then just get a different perspective. And that's really what it's about. And I love LinkedIn for that, guys. Oh, Chris just jumped off stage. I'm sure she didn't mean to. She might be back. But, we live in our comfort zone quite a bit. But if you can anchor in to a place like LinkedIn, a networking event locally to you, which Felipe and I are going to cover tomorrow in the show. So go make sure you're attending that. If you can anchor into a schedule of having somebody come in and assess it with you once every so often. We do it with taxes, annual reviews, right? Quarterly reviews if you're in business. You sit with your accountant, you talk your numbers, you crunch and see where you're at, and you adjust. If you don't do that, it can slowly get away from you quickly too, if you're really just willy-nilly with it. But I think what you need to do is stop trying to do it all. Slowing down to speed up, I would ask you guys just to write down the things you love doing in your life, the things that make you keep wanting to go. Because truth is, when I have to slow down, I look at what I have to do, what I like to do, and what I need to do. And what I have to do is make sure my bills are paid, my contracts are fulfilled, my family is taken care of, that I am taken care of, right? Those are the requirements. From there, the things I like to do, want to do, need to do vary. When it comes to my Coffee Chats show, I love to give back. I want to give back. I really like being here on Saturday. But I only need to be here if I don't have contracts paying me, because I do this for business purposes as much as I do to give back. I give 2 hours for free, but those 2 free hours help me become identified by companies who want to pay me, right? And so if I don't do the show for too long, I probably won't have inbound clients coming. There is a correlation there. If I don't do the show, I don't give back the way I want to, and I don't have the energy to fulfill my contracts because there's a correlation there. You guys engaging in the show, coming on stage like Chris did, Felipe and I bantering on the Careers, Chaos, and Coaching show, going back and forth, different perspectives. That is the value that we harness on Sundays, is to banter for you to listen. Sometimes you don't want to come on stage and share what you're up to. Sometimes you don't have the ability to even articulate what it is. You just know you feel something's not right. And then listening to others in a podcast, on a show, in their moments, sharing, wherever you're finding it, may motivate you to do something different, right? And I know it works for me. And so I know if it works for me, it's got to be working for those who listen, or why would you be subscribing? What I want you guys to really think about today is, what is running in your life but not running well? What do you know is bogged down? What do you know could be better? What on your to-do list automatically gives you a little bit of dread because you're like, oh, I know what to expect here, and it's not something you're enjoying? If you have that dreaded feeling when you start to approach something in life, I would ask you to assess what that feeling is, where it's coming from, and why. Is it the task itself? Do you hate your household chores so much that no matter what you do, you're just going to dread it, and for the next hour or so of your life, you're just going to wish you were anywhere else? Heck, God, just take me home. I don't even want to do the dishes. If you're feeling that strongly about it, hire help, because that $10 to the kid across the street to do your yard, the $100 a week for somebody to come in and clean your house for you and do all the scrubbing you don't want to do. If you can go generate that income somewhere else, if you can stop spending money on therapy because you don't have to clean anymore because you're not traumatizing yourself on whatever childhood thing that it's activating, great. What's the ROI? Would you run better if you didn't have the dread of looking at Saturday chores every week? Did you know that there's laundry services at laundromats where you can just drop off your laundry and they will do it for you, fold it, and that you just get charged by the pound. It's not even dry cleaning, it's just laundry. Did you know that you can easily ask for help with these things around your house from your family if it's something that's so upsetting to you that you just don't like to do it? Maybe you need to hold the people around you accountable and you need help with that. Guys, sometimes that's part of the problem is you're a great boss. You're so kind. You're so nice. You made sure they had all of the benefits. They get great, treats at work. You make sure they get lunches. You make sure they're paid well. But maybe you're not good at telling Bobby when he's being wrong. Or maybe you're not good at telling Sally her attitude isn't so effective in the meeting and she needs to have a course correction. Maybe you don't know how to delegate what's in the building. Maybe you don't know how to optimize everybody's role to be better suited to what they're actually doing versus what you said they were doing. Because a lot of what happens is we just do that other duties as assigned in that job description as business leaders and HR, and we just allow that to become a running list of things that were never on the table in the interview. That is what can burn out your team. That is what can make Friday feel dreaded or Monday feel like a case of the Mondays is coming, is because every Monday it's going to be the same overload of systems not working, people not pulling their weight, the boss not holding people accountable, nothing ever changing, everything being it's okay, we'll work on that soon, just get it done today, day after day after day. It's chaos. It is so much chaos. And then they're like, okay, we're finally having a meeting about it. And then they hear, okay, so we'll have another meeting about this in 2 weeks. But there's no real action plan. There's kind of a maybe hint to something, but we all just said the boss doesn't hold them accountable. So it's not going to change. If you're feeling any of that, guys, I encourage you to write down why. Who is it that you're feeling that way about? Is it yourself? Is it your business? Is it your personal life? Is it a partner? Is it a friend? Is it your children? I can't answer for you. This is a show for everybody. But how many times have you had that same conversation? Whatever it is. How many times have you met about that topic? What are you allowing because you're comfortable? How much adapting are you doing just to keep it going? On a personal note, how many Red Bulls did you have this week? How many hours of sleep did you get? How many miles did you walk? How many steps did you take? How many moments of me time did you have? And how are you going to change it so it's better? Guys, it has been a heck of a show. Gotta tell you, I've been running full throttle myself. As I sit here, I am feeling a little bit red-cheeked because I've been busy. Some cool things I've been doing for sure. The motorcycle shop in summertime is always going to be a busy place. I have a few more months of that left. I'm also still working with Slice. We have our networking event Monday, 5:00. If you're in Bellingham, Whatcom County, Ferndale area, please join us. 5:00 till 7, we'll be networking and get some stuff done. We're going to do some give back. Other things I have going on is the Careers Chaos and Coaching with Felipe tomorrow. And then I have a really exciting thing Monday morning. So the networking event's Monday night, but Monday morning I get to go meet with a new client. This client has horses and a farm and is going to be doing some marketing with me, some training as well, which is great. But I get to go on site and get to meet the horses and maybe some of the trainers, not really sure, but I'm really excited about that. So very unique weekend, back-to-back shows, and then new client on a farm. And then later that evening, I'm at the restaurant doing the networking event. So a lot going on. But what I love, guys, is the only reason I can do this is because I know what feeds me. I know what fuels me. I know where my bottlenecks are. And the truth is, if I don't use all of this chaos that is inside me for good in all of these facets, it actually slows me down. I know that sounds strange, but for me, having, what I feel is a little bit of a neurospiciness, not diagnosed ADD, but I'm definitely feeling like I should be, maybe a little autism there. What I know is having so many toys to play with, or, when I was a little girl, I would have different PlayStations in around the room. And I don't mean the consoles, but I mean, I would have a jigsaw puzzle on the coffee table at grandma's, and on the floor, I would have my crayons and coloring book right in front of the television. And then I would have, my headphones plugged into the big floor sized radio that was all the 80s glory with the turntable built in. And I would just have little, my Barbies over in another corner still set up with the dream house. It's just who I was. And I would float from station to station, just like in elementary classroom, going from station to station. It was my dream. I do that now. I go from running a retail store, training sales talent, really cultivating the best that is my team, and then pushing them out into the world to do whatever they want to do next. Just this week, I'm going to be losing one of my newer employees, and I say losing, but maintaining friendships and contact for sure. He and I were talking this month about our passions. And one day I would love to have a food truck or a cart or a diner or something. I just want to feed you guys. And I may not do it forever, but just for a while, I just want to have done it. And so I was sharing that with him, and he was explaining to me he had a dream of doing a coffee stand or a cart or a coffee truck. Of course, I got really excited with him, and I was like, oh my gosh, tell me all about it. Well, a few days from now is his last day because he's starting that journey. His friend and he got together, and they're buying a cart, and they're going to do events. And he is starting the process of living his dream. Cool thing about this is I get free coffee. I cannot wait to be on site with him at his cart the first time and take pictures and show all of you who this cool cat is and what he's up to. But it's moments like that that keep me in the motorcycle shop currently, right? That's what I'm doing there. I love to also keep my community safe. We are one of the top selling airbag locations. We sell a lot of wearable airbags that riders can wear and be safer as they're riding. Because I've lost so many of the kiddos that have worked or ridden nearby, it's just a priority. And knowing that that is something that they listen to me about, I take that seriously. That fills my cup, because those community events that I also get to host at that location have created so much energy. We have over 125 bikes at a meet. It started with 14 just a few years ago. We just had an influencer, Mad Maxie. He is on YouTube. He has 1 million subscribers there. He also has about 720,000 subscribers on Instagram. He was just there at my bike night, and one of my employees shared the YouTube Mad Maxie just posted from that night, and you can hear him say that was the best bike night I've ever been to at a Cycle Gear. I take pride in that. He's been at a lot of events. I was told again that he posted another video the next day, and he had repeated the comment about it being such an amazing event. That fills my cup, guys. It fills my cup to know that those kids who listen to me about riding safer and wearing gear and showing up and being part of the community together and hanging out and celebrating also got to meet somebody that was really cool to them. I had never heard of the guy, if I'm being honest, until he showed up. And then I told him he should come on the show, and he said he would. So I expect him to be on my show in the near future. You just got to keep moving, guys. The other thing I love is that we have the events catered by Sliced. Sliced is my partner that I'm marketing with. I loved the restaurant when I went for Valentine's Day with my husband. Fell in love with their jalapeno poppers and their steak. So I told him, I'm adopting you. You have to work with me. This is what you need from me. Please do so. Now, most of you on LinkedIn know adopting means giving it away, and I just don't charge you, but I'm charging Slice. I'm very transparent about it, and they laugh and they tell him, hey, she's good at what she does. I'll pay her. And that's a beautiful thing, but they help us cater those events. By doing so, they get hundreds of people a year to try their food. Over 12,000 a year are trying. Or wait, I can't math. 1,200. I'm there. Thank you. Just from those events alone, right? The way it all works together is something that makes me feel magical because I'm building a community. Those kids that are coming to bike night, and they're not all children by any means, but those humans that come in and call me shop mom, they're going to need networking because they're college students and they're going to graduate and they're going to need to talk to the business leaders that I'm currently inviting to these events. And as they come, I'm going to be able to help them network together to fill positions and maybe do some internships. And the more that these individuals get to know me, the more often and more likely they are to apply. And so they actually get to work with me so I can be a genuine recommendation for them one day. And that's just one facet, guys. That's just one location of what I do. What I love about what I do is that it's so diverse that I can then go to a horse farm the same morning of doing those networking events, and I can do different shows on this platform and beyond about operations and coaching and consulting while still employed somewhere else doing those wonderful things. I'm not tired from it. I get tired from driving behind slow drivers who park in the left lane. I get tired from having surprise accidents happen here and there where somebody lost something or something broke because we didn't prevent it. But those bottlenecks are the things I fix so I don't have to be tired from it and so that I can still optimize my time enough to do all of the things. And when that doesn't work, the whole point of this was to say, when that doesn't work, when I can't offer myself to all the facets, I cut back on the things I need to. So when I take a break from the show, please know it's just because I'm running full throttle and this is my bottleneck this week. If you need me, you can always reach out though. And I don't want you guys to think I'm gone too far because I'm never going away. LinkedIn is my favorite place to play. I make all my employees come here and get a LinkedIn going so one day they can harness the power themselves. But I'm excited to do this here. I'm excited to be live with Felipe tomorrow. I can't wait to see you there too. Jay, thank you so much for showing up as well. And to everybody else who commented and engaged, I appreciate you. I'm going to head out, but I will be back next week. We will be back with a brand new topic. If you have any recommendations, I would love to know what you'd like to hear me talk about. The same with Felipe and I. If you have something you want us to cover, please come tomorrow with that. We'll cover it then. But for now, I'm out of here. I have a huge biker event happening today at my shop. The Bikers Against Child Abuse are doing their Washington annual ride, and it's ending in my parking lot. And so we are going to have quite a few individuals there shopping, which is great for my numbers and great for the community. But I love what they do and what they stand for. And if you don't know who they are, go do some research. They're called BACA, Bikers Against Child Abuse, and they will sit with victims of child abuse and go into the court with them on days where they need to give testimony or whatever it is. They just empower young survivors to feel empowered enough to regain who they are and their confidence and know that they're not alone in what they're journeying through. And so it's my pleasure to have them come hang out in my playground. If you guys are around, you should come shake their hands, say hi. They are leaders of business all over the state as well. And so it's really nice to have them there. Anyways, guys, I am out of here. I hope you dance the show away with me, and I will see you tomorrow. Take care.
Creeps through my window pane. Dreams of stars, now a faint refrain. Coffee brews and thoughts collide in this early morning ride. Wake up world, let's start the day. Insight flows in a bright array. just like morning dew. In this space, it's me and you. Coffee chats with Melissa. Every cup was a whisper. Conversations open door. Spilling thoughts forevermore. Ideas bubble crisp and bright. Words take flight in morning light. Consult the heart, make it sing. New perspectives on each wing. Pour another cup of cheer. Every thought